The $1 million Theft: How America Robs Black Women of Their Economic Future. Welcome. I want to begin by acknowledging the profound insights that shaped today's Talk Insights that came from Joyce Williams, a visionary economic justice warrior whose relentless research and advocacy have fundamentally transformed how we understand racial and gender inequality in America. Joyce doesn't just collect data, she illuminates lives. Her work has influenced policy at state and federal levels, empowered countless women to demand their worth, and forced our nation to confront uncomfortable truths about who we truly value in our economy. Without her courage to speak truth to power, millions of stories would remain untold, millions of dollars would remain uncounted, and millions of lives would continue in the shadows of economic injustice. When we talk about the wage gap in America, we often hear it expressed in cents on the dollar. Women make 82 cents for every dollar a man makes. It sounds unfair, certainly, but it also sounds stuff like something that might be inconvenient but not life altering. This framing is precisely the problem. Because what we're actually talking about isn't just pennies, it's $1 million theft from Black women's lives. Let that sink in for a moment. Over a 40-year career, Black women in places like New York lose more than $1.16 million compared to their white male counterparts. Not cents, not thousands, millions. This isn't just about unequal paychecks. This is about stolen futures. This is about generational wealth that never materializes. This is about dreams deferred and opportunities foreclosed. And it's happening right now to millions of women in what we call the land of opportunity. The wage gap for Black women isn't just a matter of cents on the dollar, it's a generational wealth crisis. Nationally, Black women earn just 66 cents for every dollar paid to white men. In some states, it's even worse. In Mississippi, Black women earn just 53 cents per dollar compared to white men, 53 cents, barely half. But these aren't just statistics, these numbers represent real women, real families, real lives. When a Black woman earns nearly $1 million less over her lifetime, that means her children might not get the education they deserve. It means she might not be able to buy a home in a safe neighborhood with good schools. It means she might not have adequate health care. It means she might work until her dying day because retirement remains an impossible dream. It means her daughters and granddaughters inherit not wealth, but poverty, not opportunity, but struggle. This is how cycles of poverty persist. This is how racial wealth gaps become entrenched. This is how systems of inequality perpetuate themselves across decades and centuries. And the most painful part, many of us have been taught to see this as an individual problem rather than a systemic one. This isn't about Black women needing to negotiate better or work harder or get more education. Black women are already among the most educated demographic groups in America. They're already working multiple jobs. They're already stretching themselves thin, trying to overcome barriers that shouldn't exist in the first place. No, this is about systems that were designed to undervalue Black women's labor from the very beginning. And these systems continue to operate today, sometimes in ways that are obvious, sometimes in ways that are subtle and insidious. Take New York, for example. Despite being one of the most progressive states in the country, Black women in New York still earn only 66 cents for every dollar earned by white men. That's a projected loss of $1.16 million over a career. Think about what that means in real terms. That's college tuition for multiple children. That's a home in a safe neighborhood. That's quality health care. That's retirement security. That's the ability to help aging parents. That's the freedom to leave abusive relationships. That's the power to start businesses, invest in communities, and build generational wealth. That's a future stolen. But there are people fighting back. Legislative advocacy, led by leaders like NYS Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart Cousins, has been pushing for equal pay policies and raising awareness through campaigns around Equal Pay Day. These efforts have increased visibility around wage disparity issues and led to incremental policy changes targeting systemic discrimination against Black women workers. This activism builds on decades of work around gender and race based income gaps, culminating in annual observances like Equal Pay Day, focused specifically on Black women's experiences. These movements have led to the passage of legislation aimed at closing gender and race based pay gaps and built broad coalitions among civic groups. The impact has been significant, raising national awareness and inspiring similar actions across other states addressing intersectional workplace inequalities. But the fight is far from over. In Mississippi, the situation is even more dire. Black women there earn just 53 cents per dollar compared with white men. And the unemployment rate for Black women rose sharply from March to June 2025, from 5.1% to 6.1%, the largest jump among all demographic groups nationally. In response, grassroots organizers have been calling attention through media with powerful messages like, "The check is long overdue." They're demanding legislative action on Medicaid expansion and SNAP benefits alongside fair wages. These efforts have amplified pressure on local and state policymakers and sparked renewed conversations about linking social safety nets with employment equity. They've mobilized statewide coalitions uniting labor advocates with civil rights organizations and brought national focus onto regional disparities within the broader equal pay movement. This work is especially crucial in the South, where generational poverty has been exacerbated by chronic underpayment, despite high workforce participation rates among Southern Black women. And there's another threat on the horizon. Cuts in public sector funding threaten jobs where Southern Black women are highly represented. In some states, Black women make up more than 1/5 of government workforces. After decades of building careers largely within stable public sector roles, partly due to historical exclusion from private industry leadership tracks, recent rollbacks jeopardize hard won gains. Advocates are fighting against federal disinvestment policies and calling for targeted investments into sectors employing large numbers of minority professionals. This advocacy has led to greater recognition within labor policy debates about the disproportionate risks faced by these workers during budget cuts. These efforts have shined light on the intersectionality between race, gender, and economic security across multiple Southern states and shifted priorities within progressive coalitions toward protecting vulnerable worker populations. What we must understand is that this issue isn't just about fairness in the abstract. It's about concrete harms being done to real people every single day. When we talk about Black women earning less, we're talking about mothers who have to work multiple jobs to keep food on the table. And we're talking about grandmothers who can't retire because they don't have enough savings. We're talking about daughters who can't afford college tuition. We're talking about families who can't buy homes in safe neighborhoods with good schools. We're talking about dreams deferred and potential unrealized. And the cost isn't just borne by individual women and their families. Our entire society loses out when we systematically undervalue the contributions of Black women. We lose their leadership, their innovation, their creativity. We lose the full measure of what they could contribute if they were paid fairly for their work. The fight against pay inequality is ongoing, and collective action matters. Despite setbacks such as anti DEI efforts at the federal level and cuts affecting public services where many Black women work, continued advocacy can create real change when supported by policy shifts and community mobilization. For too long, Black women have been expected to be strong in the face of systemic oppression, to work harder for less pay, to carry their families and communities on their backs without complaint. But true strength isn't about enduring injustice silently, it's about naming it, challenging it, transforming it. So I stand here today to tell you that this is not just their fight, this is our fight, all of us. When we allow any group to be systematically underpaid and undervalued, we are all diminished. When we permit economic violence against Black women, we weaken the moral fabric of our entire society. I challenge you today to see the wage gap not as some abstract economic concept, but as a massive, coordinated theft from the lives, dreams, and futures of millions of Black women and their families. What will you do with this knowledge? Will you look away because it's uncomfortable? Will you dismiss it as someone else's problem? Or will you join the fight for economic justice? Will you examine pay practices in your own organization? Will you support legislation that addresses systemic pay discrimination? Will you amplify the voices of Black women fighting for economic justice? Because here's the truth: a society that steals from its most vulnerable members is a society that has lost its way. A nation that permits the systematic economic exploitation of Black women cannot truly call itself just or free. The $1 million theft from Black women's lives isn't just their tragedy, it's America's moral failure. And it will only end when all of us, regardless of our race or gender, stand up and say, not one more penny, not one more dream, not one more future stolen. The time for action is now. The cost of silence is too high. And the debt we owe to Black women in this country grows larger with every passing day. Thank you.